So this is my witchy Pooh the cat. She's an orange tabby. I don't know if you can see that she has one green eye and one blue eye. She's a witch cat. She protects kids. She brings good fortune. She protects the harvest. She also likes to ride a broom. There's a story about her that I have to tell you. So one day I was outside, and then she looked at me, and she had these big green eyes. And I was like, well, and she was staring at me again. And then she rubbed against my leg, and then she walked away. I think that cat wants to come home with me. So I just scooped her up, and I brought her home, and she became my cat. And she's been with me ever since. She's a little witch that lives in a house in Salem, North Carolina. And October 31 is a high holiday for her. She is a cat that likes to cook in a cauldron. She's a cat that likes to experiment with herbs and concoctions. She is a cat that is very particular about the quality of her ingredients. And she is a cat that takes her time to make sure that everything is just right. She is a very good cook. Now she also a holistic doctor. Now she doesn't really believe in modern medicine. She thinks it's all a bunch of hooey. She believes in the power of herbs and natural remedies. And she has a whole collection of them. She's a cat that really knows her stuff when it comes to herbs and natural remedies. She's a cat that really knows how to take care of herself and those around her. She's a cat that really knows the power of a good cup of tea. Now she's not your typical cat, that's for sure. But wouldn't you love to have a witchy Pooh the cat in your life? If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Orange Tabby, a classic witch's familiar. And witchy Pooh is no ordinary cat. She's a magical protector and bringer of good fortune. A witch's cat must be an excellent hunter, able to protect the home from evil spirits and harm. And witchy Pooh is up to the task. When she lived in the forest with her mother, witchy Pooh would stalk the rabbits and squirrels, pouncing on them with sharp claws and teeth. But now that she lives with the humans, she keeps busy by chasing the red dot and batting around the toy mouse. She still gets plenty of exercise, keeping her instincts sharp. In addition to being a fierce protector, witchy Pooh is also a good luck charm. She can sense when magic is near and will often rub against the witch's legs when she's brewing a potion or casting a spell. Some say that having a cat around during the casting of a spell doubles its power. In the old country, cats were believed to have the ability to see spirits, and this is a belief that has carried over into modern-day Appalachia. People there still believe that witches have the ability to turn into cats, and these cats are said to be able to communicate with the spirits of the dead. This is where the legend of the witch's familiar comes from, a spirit that can inhabit an animal, usually a cat, and allow the witch to communicate with the spirit world. Some say that the witch's cat is also a protector of the harvest, and this is especially true in the southern states where crops are plentiful. It's said that if you have a witch's cat, your crops will be safe from harm, and your fields will be filled with plenty. Another fun fact about the witch's cat is that she's often seen riding a broom. In folklore, the broom is a symbol of power and magic, and the cat is seen as the witch's helper. They ride the broom together into the night sky, soaring above the trees and houses. They also love to cook together in a cauldron, stirring up potions and concoctions for all kinds of purposes. The cauldron is a big part of their magic, and it's said that anything that happens inside it is bound to come true. And speaking of cauldrons, did you know that October is a very important month for witches? On October 31st, the veil between the worlds is at its thinnest, and this makes it easier for witches to communicate with the spirits of the dead. That's why Halloween is such a big holiday for witches. It's a chance to connect with their ancestors and get their help with any problems they may be facing. Now, if you happen to meet a witch in the woods, don't be scared. Most witches are friendly and just want to be left alone. They're not out to harm anyone, and they're certainly not going to put a curse on you. In fact, they probably wouldn't even dream of such a thing. Unless you encounter a malevolent witch, witches tend to stay away from conflict. But if you do find yourself in the unfortunate situation of needing to defend yourself against a witch, there are a few things you should keep in mind. First of all, witches are very powerful. They have the ability to control the elements and can cast spells that can harm or even kill you. So don't try to take them on if you're not prepared. Secondly, Witches are also very cunning. They're skilled manipulators and can easily trick you into doing what they want. Thirdly, witches are often very protective of their familiars. If you harm the witch's familiar, you can expect the full force of her wrath. So don't even think about harming the witch's cat. It might look like a cute little kitty cat, but it's actually a powerful magical being. And finally, remember that not all witches are evil. In fact, most of them are quite benevolent. They use their powers to help others and make the world a better place. So if you ever meet a witch, don't be afraid to strike up a conversation. You never know what kind of wisdom she might share with you. So remember, if you see a witch in the woods, don't be scared. Just keep these tips in mind and you'll be fine. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe so you can be sure to catch our next video. Before we go, I'd like to tell you about a wonderful organization. They rescued a cat named Boo after he was found abandoned in an alley. And Boo was definitely a witch's cat, a ginger tabby with a white beard. After some time at the shelter, Boo was adopted by one of their staff members. Now he spends his days napping in the sun and his nights cuddling with his new mom. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a special treat for you. We are going to talk about my favorite kind of witches, witchy cats. So we're going to look at the symbolism of cats and witchcraft, start with this beautiful orange tabby, a little bit of a ginger there. And we're going to talk about what it means if you have a witchy cat in your life. So let's get into it. So when you meet a witchy cat, first of all, you're going to notice the color orange. Orange is a very warm color. It stands out like fire and energy. And that's exactly what an orange tabby is. They're known as being very energetic, sometimes a little bit mischievous, but very affectionate. If you've ever had an orange tabby, you know what I mean. In Celtic folklore, cats have always been associated with the other world, a place between worlds, a place where fairies live. And so anything that has to do with fairies has to do with magic. And so orange tabbies, because of that association, are known as being very magical, very mystical, and they could even be considered witch cats. Now, orange cats, especially orange tabbies, are known as being very protective of their families. And that's another way that they are associated with witchcraft. In fact, there is a belief that if you have an orange tabby in your home, that they're protecting you from evil spirits and that they're a guardian against evil. That's why you'll see them like staring out a window. They're probably watching out for any evil spirits that might be lurking around. They're very protective, and so that makes them very witchy. Another thing about orange tabbies is they're also known for bringing good fortune. So that's another way that they can be considered witchy. Now, some people think that orange tabbies bring good fortune just because of their personality. They're very charismatic. They're known as being very social, very friendly. But other people believe that orange tabbies bring good fortune because of their fur. The fur has these very bright colors. It has these lines, and it almost looks like it has these patterns and designs. And so they think that the designs in the fur are actually magical symbols that bring good luck. So again, orange tabbies are very witchy because of their ability to bring good fortune and protect from evil spirits. Okay, now if you've seen one of these black and white cats, well, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they are known as being witches in disguise. So if you see one of these cats, you gotta be careful. They may not be what they seem. So that's why cats are associated with witches. But what about a witchy cat? What if you have a cat and you feel like they're extra witchy? Well, there's a few things to look for. First of all, their eyes. Do their eyes glow green at night? Do they have this wild look to them? Do they seem otherworldly? Do they seem like they're from another realm? If your cat has these kinds of eyes, they could be a witch cat. And then finally, the last thing you'll notice about a witchy cat is that their fur will stand on end. See, all cats have fur that stands on end, but with a witchy cat, their fur will stand on end permanently. It won't go down, and this is because they're always alert. They're always listening. They're always watching. They're always ready for action. And so if you have a cat that has fur that stands on end. Another way to tell if you have a witchy cat is if they do certain things around your house. For example, do they like to ride the vacuum cleaner? Do they like to hide behind the washing machine? Do they like to jump up and down on the bed? Well, if they do, they're probably doing magic. You see, when cats jump up and down on things, they're creating energy. They're creating a vortex of energy. And when that energy is released, it can cause all sorts of magical things to happen. For example, if you've ever had a cat jump up and down on your bed, you may have noticed that the sheets and blankets start flying around. The pillows start moving, the curtains start swaying, and it can feel like there's all sorts of magical energy in the room. Well, that's because there is. Cats are very sensitive to energy. And when they move and jump and play, they're manipulating the energy around them in very powerful ways. So if you have a cat that likes to jump up and down on your furniture, well, you might want to pay attention because they're probably doing magic. Another way to tell if you have a witchy cat is if they like to stare at the moon. All cats like to stare at the moon, but witchy cats stare at the moon in a different way. They stare at the moon with intensity. They stare at the moon with wonder. They stare at the moon like they're trying to figure out its secrets. And they do that because they know that the moon is a powerful source of energy. They know that the moon can influence the tides. They know that the moon can affect the behavior of animals. And they know that the moon can even affect human emotions. And so, if you have a cat that likes to stare at the moon, well, they're probably trying to learn its secrets. They're probably trying to figure out how they can use the moon's energy to help them do their magic. Another thing that you might notice about a witchy cat is that they like to cook in the oven. No, I'm not kidding. I've seen it happen. Cats are very curious creatures, and they love to explore new things. And one of the things that they like to explore is the oven. They like to open the door, and they like to stick their heads and paws inside. And when they do that, they're stirring up the energy inside the oven. And it can actually create a very powerful magical effect. If you have a witchy cat, you might notice that they like to do this at certain times of the year, especially during the Sabbath times. So if you have a cat that likes to cook in the oven, well, you might want to pay attention because they're probably up to something. Salem, North Carolina holds the distinction of being the town that has the largest population of cats in relation to its human inhabitants. Salem was established in 1924 and initially attracted a diverse array of settlers, including Scots, Irish, English, and Germans. This mixing of cultures contributed to its reputation as a haven for practitioners of folk magic. Known locally as root work, these traditions involved using herbs, flowers, and plants to heal ailments and address various concerns. Some folks even called it granny magic. Over the years, the practice of Appalachian folk magic has endured despite attempts to suppress it. During the 19th century, religious groups sought to eradicate what they termed heathenish sorcery. However, these efforts failed due to the secretive nature of these beliefs, which were primarily transmitted within families. This secrecy allowed the traditions to persist through oral teachings and familial bonds. October 31st is a significant day for many Americans, but in Salem, North Carolina, it holds particular importance as the eve of the Great American Witch Hunt of 1623. On October, over 100 individuals faced accusations of consorting with the devil and practicing sorcery. This event left a lasting impact on the town and its connection to witchcraft. The cat in question is no ordinary feline. Known as a herbalist, this extraordinary cat possesses knowledge about the healing properties of various plants and herbs. People come from far and wide to seek the cat's assistance in matters related to health and well-being. Its wisdom and expertise make it a highly regarded figure in the community. As the days grow shorter and the air turns crisp, the town prepares for the annual autumn equinox celebration. The upcoming winter season is a time when illness and discomfort tend to prevail. Therefore, the herbalist cat's role in providing guidance and remedies becomes particularly crucial during this time. The cat's owner, an elderly woman named Hazel, understands the significance of her feline companion. She recognizes the cat's unique abilities and the value it brings to the town. Together, they work to preserve the ancient traditions of Appalachian folk magic, ensuring that the knowledge of herbs and healing continues to be passed down through generations. The Appalachian Mountains stretch from West Virginia to Mississippi. And within this vast region, folk magic goes by many names: rootwork, granny magic, kitchen witchery, braucherei. No matter the name, it is the tradition of using native plants to heal and perform magic. The first people to combine Appalachian nature and spiritual ritual were the Cherokee and Choctaw. European settlers didn't flood the early American colonies until the 18th century, carrying traditional folk healing practices with them from Western Europe. Their emigration was sparked by the spread of Protestantism across Europe and the persecution of those practicing outside the church. Throughout the years of the Spanish Inquisition, religious institutions used the term witch to identify someone practicing healing and ritual outside the bounds of the Christian church. When these Scottish, Irish, and English settlers arrived, they combined their traditional practices with Native American knowledge about flowers, berries, roots, and leaves native to Appalachia. Settlers from Germany and people of African descent also shared their wisdom about rituals and natural remedies. Out of this large melting pot was born a uniquely American faith tradition practiced mostly by familial matriarchs. Granny magic, or granny witchcraft, represents one flavor. Within this tradition, older women, called grannies, served as midwives, healers, and stewards of ancestral knowledge within their communities. These women knew the regenerative properties of certain native plants and provided medical care to those living in isolated areas, where residents were often distrustful of doctors. Well, there you have it. That's everything you need to know about witchy cats. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and share. And if you'd like to support us further, we have a membership option available. We appreciate any support you can offer as we continue to bring you delightful content. Thank you and have a wonderful day.